Do you want to be able to cycle through whichever villager profession you want within a trading hall? And maybe you want to select the trades themselves and make sure you get exactly what you need. Well, this villager trading hall will do just that. Don't you go anywhere. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on what time you're watching this next episode from me, Avamance, in my tutorial series. We have got a villager trading hall that is dead easy to set up and works in 1.14.3 pre-2. So hopefully should work in 1.14.3 and all the way on from there. You never know with Mojang, they might change some stuff, but this means you can select the trades you want by cycling through your villager trades to get exactly the trades you want, so you don't end up with any rubbish ones. And it also gives you the opportunity to, once you're fed up with those trades, maybe a little bit later in the game, to be able to get rid of that villager without hitting him yourself and replacing him with a brand new one. It's really simple, and I'm going to show you how to make it right now. To make this trading hall, you are going to need various bits and pieces. So for each pod, you need about half a stack of stone bricks, one stone pressure plate, 3 redstone torches, 1 iron trapdoor, 1 dispenser and a bucket of lava if you want the kill system in there, otherwise just replace it with another stone brick, 1 activator rail, about 14 bits of glass, 1 set of steps and a button. For the rail system, you want as many stone brick blocks or whatever block it is you're going to put your rails on as you need to get to and from your storage system. Again, as many rails as you need to get to or from your storage system, a handful of levers, and because you shouldn't defy gravity, get some fences and use them as legs. You're also going to need just 1 minecart. For the ejection system, you are going to need 1 activator rail, a few rails, a few powered rails, 1 detector rail, about 10 bits of glass, 3 redstone dust, always good to light up any redstone circuit with a torch to avoid lag, and a sticky piston. You're also going to need some redstone repeaters and some redstone dust with a button to be able to get the summoning system set up, and also whatever workstations you want to be able to give your villagers the professions. We're going to talk about the position of the sun. Right now, the sun is right above our head, and that is at the tick placement of 6,000. So it's time 6,000, midday by any other means. We want to have our sun between 2,000 ticks and 9,000 ticks, because that is the period within which the villagers actually work at their workstation. It means that's how we can manipulate their trades to get the absolute best of them. If I put in here time set 2,000, you can see the sun hops and it is right there just above, kind of a little bit 45-degree angle to the horizon. If I then put time set 9,000, you can see it hops to the other side and it's around about the same sort of angle off of the ground on that side. This is an expandable hall. That means you can have as many different villagers with as many different professions and as many different trades as you would like. You literally just repeat the pod that I'm about to show you how to build over and over again, and you can have it as large as you would want. Get yourself a 2-high wall on either side. Literally, it's just 4 blocks on either side. Then come around the back, pop this block out and put a redstone torch on top of it. Stick a stone pressure plate on there and you'll see that the redstone torch turns off when you put that pressure plate on. Pop a block on top of the redstone torch and then put a redstone torch on the back of that block. It automatically turns off because the redstone torch under here has powered this block, which means that that redstone torch there is effectively reversed in its polarity. Put a block on top of that, put a block on top of that, and put a block on top of that, so you've got sideways T. Hands up who just put their head to the side to see if that looked like a T. Put a torch on top of that. If that torch turns on, which it will when someone stands on that pressure plate, that will then turn this torch off. At the moment, that block is powered whilst the torch is on. If the torch turns off, it is no longer powered. Pop an activator rail on that block, and that block you can see it's got a powered activator rail. If that torch turns off, that turns off, and so does the activator rail. And that is how we get a villager into our system. Get yourself a dispenser. Now this part is completely optional. If you don't want to have the facility to kill the villagers really quickly without hitting them with a sword, that's fine. Don't use a dispenser. But if you do, pop a dispenser there and shove a bucket of lava inside it. Then get a block there and a block there, and depending on whether or not you're going to have another pod on this side, you need to either put another dispenser facing in that direction, or if this is an end wall, pop in a block. It is entirely up to you. On the face of that, pop a button, get some steps, upside down steps there, get an iron trapdoor and pop it there. That way the iron trapdoor doesn't accidentally get opened and villagers don't roam around free range, because that is not the option that we're looking for here. So I am going for a 5-pod system here. I'm not going to make it any bigger than this for the purpose of this tutorial, but seriously, fill your boots. Make it as big as you would like. What I want you to do is behind each of the dispensers, pop yourself a single block and put on there a normal rail. Now it's really quite important that you put a normal rail here. If you put a powered rail on there and you press the power button, you flick the power, that is going to empty this dispenser. I'll just demonstrate for you. Out comes that. So you don't want that at all. So a normal rail. So what's quite a good idea is to have a gap. If you have a gap every 5, which allows you to put in some powered rails, that will give you the ability for minecarts to be able to shoot on. So for example here, I'll have a bit of a gap between pods and I'll put in powered rails all the way along there, and those powered rails will then get powered, and that won't shoot the lava out of that dispenser. And what should happen then is your minecart should be able to travel the entire length without losing its momentum. You can see there the minecart just about makes it over those activator rails. If it was any longer, it would probably stop. You could of course do breaks before 5 pods if you wanted, every 4 pods, every 3 pods. It's entirely up to you. The next thing to do is to make sure once a villager pops out when it goes over an activator rail, it's only got one place to go. So let's complete this wall first of all. And then we want to get some glass. Now it's really important that we use glass because we don't want the villagers to suffocate. Because if you have a row of glass all the way along here, the villagers will pass through that glass without any problem of suffocation. Where you've got an activator rail, pop it out and bring your glass along the channels over the dispensers and to the edge of your villager hall. Fill in the bottom so as it looks like that, and similarly at the back you can perhaps line it with the same block that you've already used just to make it look complete. So you've now got basically the villagers pop out there, they have to come in this direction, they have no choice, and they will go into the pods. Fill in these gaps here over in the dispensers, bring it to the front all the way along. Now this doesn't have to be glass from here. It does have to be glass here, but it doesn't have to be glass from here. But it's quite nice to be able to see the villagers roaming along. The next thing to do is to sort out the rail loop. Now this looks way more scary and complicated than it actually is. We're going to start all the way up this end, we're going to go back that end, and we'll come back this end. I didn't build it with you because I figured you'd be able to see how we built it without me having to lay the actual blocks. This is the villager storage area. It is a 3x3 square with a water bucket in the corner, the opposite corner to where that minecart is currently. That is where we hold our villagers. It could be a villager breeder, it could be a villager storage area that comes from a villager breeder. This is not a tutorial on how to breed villagers. There is a link in the description below, I'm hoping I've remembered to put it there, that will show you how to do a really great villager breeder that works in 1.14.3 and hopefully above, depending on how they do the updates. But that is where the villagers will sit. The villagers, because their hitbox will cross over with the hitbox of that minecart, the villagers will hop in the minecart. Underneath that minecart there is a powered rail that is powered by this system that is attached to a button right over by our villager trading hall, and that will turn on that cart, which will send down one villager all the way along this track. It's got a little kink in the track that we'll talk about in a moment, and this track goes on and on and on and on and on. You don't have to do 3 powered rails and 5 normal rails. I've just done that because I wanted to. As long as you get the minecart to the trading hall, you can use as few or as many powered rails as you would like. It then goes through the trading hall, comes all the way around and loops around, comes back towards the villager repository, comes up around this area. If there is still a villager in the minecart, it is ejected here. So for example, if all the pods are full, the villager is ejected here, pushed into the repository, ready for the next time someone needs to go in. The minecart then goes down, around, and on this little kink, because it's travelling straight into that rail cart there, that will hop the rails in a stunt pilot styley and go back. And because by then this will have turned off, the minecart will stop on that unpowered powered rail, waiting for the next time you want to summon a villager. However, you need to be able to make sure they only go into the repository and don't start wandering along the rail, which is a real possibility. Get yourself a kind of hooked over area, so that will stop the villagers going left and right. They can only go forwards. And you also want to get a glass block on there, come back to temporary blocks and get a sticky piston. That sticky piston needs to face there. Get rid of that block, although it would still work if you had the block there. Pop that block back in that you just broke, pop in a glass there and a glass there. Now what's great now is that redstone will sit on glass. These don't have to be glass blocks, but I actually quite like the way the redstone looks when it sits on that glass block. So now what happens when a minecart goes over the activator rail, it ejects the villager, it goes over a detector rail, which gives a pulse to that sticky piston. That block is pushed forwards and pushes the villager back into your villager storage area before the minecart comes back. There is a possibility that the villager will just sit there until it can be bothered to walk off. And sometimes it can be ages because it doesn't want to jump in the water. Over here, however, the villagers do tend to jump off relatively quickly. I have got 6 cheeky little villagers waiting there to become part of my trading hall, and all we need to do to put the first fella in is to press this button. So if we pop that button there, along he comes in his minecart around the wobble. He can't get away, he's wondering what's going on, and when he goes over that activator, it's going to shake him off. And there he is, he sits at the top, and eventually what he'll do, he'll pathfind back into this hole here. Now sometimes he does it immediately, sometimes it takes a few seconds, sometimes it can take as much as a minute, but you will get him in the hole. Remove all of these blocks in front of there, because that is where we're putting the workstation. Now I'm going to decide this fella's going to be a librarian, so I've got my lectern ready to pop inside. Looking at the time, yep, it is. You can see the sun is slowly moving that direction. That means that between 2000 and 9000 ticks, this is the perfect time to start selecting our trades. I pop the lectern in there, he immediately turns into a librarian. If I right click on him, he shows me what his trades are, aqua affinity or bookshelves. Now that might be all right, you might like that, or you might think, you know what, I don't like that. Go back to being a non-profession, pop it back in there, and his trades are now different. You can then keep going until such time as he decides that he's got a good trade for you. Knock it out, pop it back in, knock it out, pop it back in, and we're going to go for blast protection 4. We like that. We can also trade paper for emeralds, so that is a decent trade. Now when you found a trade that you like, I recommend that you trade with that villager immediately. If you do that, those trades will no longer be changeable should you accidentally break that lectern. If you then, that fella's ready, click the button again, send down your next player. In he comes, he's running along the track. What he's going to go straight over that without being ejected, and he's going to pop in there, and eventually, like before, he will pathfind down into that chamber. A word of caution, if you do this after 9000 ticks, you'll find that he does not want to change his trade. So I'm just going to change the time to 10,000 ticks. Right, you'll notice that all of these guys looked at their workstation and then stopped. I'm going to pop another workstation in there. Let's make it a lectern. He will become a librarian. However, if we don't like his trade, and actually that's a little bit rubbish, and I remove that lectern, he stays a librarian. He will stay a librarian until the time hits 2000 ticks again, because basically this is outside of the the work time. He couldn't be bothered about what his workstation is now. He just wants to have a play. Maybe he wants to go and have his dinner. Maybe he wants to have a kip. Maybe he wants to chat with his friends. Probably gossiping is on his mind. He doesn't care that you've removed the lectern. However, if we take the time to 2000 again, he then gets all upset, realising that he's got to go to work and he's got nowhere to work. And you can pop the lectern in and his trade will change in exactly the same way as the others. Our 5-station trading hall is now full, but we've still got another village in here. What happens if we accidentally send this poor fellow out and he comes all the way around? So he comes around that system, he flows over all of these villagers, he probably says hello because he's not seen them for a while, and then he comes around again, he goes, oh no, I'm going to end up getting bashed. But that's not true. He comes up to the top, eventually around the corner, gets kicked out there and pushed back into the storage area, ready for the next run. As your game develops, you'll find that trades that used to be perfect for you are no longer that interesting. So this librarian fella here, you used to love blast protection free. It was your absolute favourite enchantment because you were slightly strange. But you no longer want blast protection free. But this guy's trades are locked because you've been trading up with him. And he won't now change his trades, because once you've traded with him once, that will not change. No matter how many times you remove that lectern, his trades are fixed. So you want to get rid of him, but you don't want to hit him with your sword, because you don't want these people whispering through the walls at each other and iron golems appearing, or you don't want the trades to end up getting more expensive, because when you hit one of these guys, they get upset and all of a sudden their trades get more expensive. That's not on. Let's hit him again. The trades just go up in price. Only a little bit, but they do go up in price. So let's say you're fed up with him. Well, you can just get rid of him by pressing the button up and to the left. Very important, to the left. Don't go to the right, go to the left. Hit that button. He'll get a hot shower. Hit the button again. That retracts the lava. He is no longer your problem. You can then press this button and along comes another little fella to replace him, and because you've already got the lectern in there, he'll become a librarian. But if you don't want him a librarian, you could change your mind. You could have him turn into something completely different. Maybe you want him to be a weaponsmith, just like his mate next door. One extremely flexible, very expandable villager trading hall with the method to be able to cycle through your villagers, not only when they're in their pods, but also when they are in the storage system. Do you ever get the feeling you're being watched? I feel ever so uncomfortable all of a sudden. I don't know. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, please do remember to slap that like button. It'd be great to know you're enjoying it, and I will keep on making them. And also, if you've not done it already, please do hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to see you in my sub club. I look forward to seeing you in another video. You take it easy now. Bye.